Jamie O'Brien just called it the most dangerous session of his life.
One word for Jamie O'Brien.
Pretty creative.
Jester.
Outcast.
Competitive.
Competitive. Crazy.
Wow.
Motivated.
Coming from a guy who's broken both legs at Pipeline and been knocked out cold in that same lineup, that's not clickbait. That's a warning. Because how Jamie O'Brien lives is genuinely out of this world, and this session almost ended it all. Nobody was paying attention to Jamie O'Brien back in the early 1990s. He was just another wide-eyed kid on the sand at Pipeline, growing up in the shadow of the most dangerous wave on the planet. His father, Mick, an Australian lifeguard, would sit with him at the water's edge and point out the local legends paddling past. Jamie started competing in local contests around age 6. That's not a typo. 6 years old, already circling the wave that would define his entire life. Most kids that age are scared of the ocean. Jamie was scared of missing it.
If someone's sitting next to me in an airplane and they're asking me, what's your occupation? I just pretty much tell them, well, you know what? I'm a professional surfer.
By the early 2000s, the kid from the sand had become a problem for everyone else in the water. He took fourth at the Pipeline Masters in 2001, then first place at Hanson's Pipeline Pro 2 years later. Then in 2004, at just 21 years old, he won the Rip Curl Pipeline Masters outright. Surfer Magazine gave him their Breakthrough Performer Award the following year. On paper, it reads like the start of a world title run. But Jamie never wanted the tour. He wanted Pipeline. And Pipeline, as it turns out, does not let anyone walk away clean. Here's the thing nobody warns you about when you fall in love with the most dangerous wave on Earth. It doesn't care how good you are. Jamie has been knocked unconscious at Pipeline. He has broken both legs there, on separate occasions, years apart. He came close to breaking his back on a wave that, by his own account, could have ended his career in an instant. In a conversation with comedian Bert Kreischer, Jamie laid out exactly how thin the margin really is. He said you take calculated risks, that most of the time you're following the correct way, and sometimes you're just getting lucky.
Oh, hurt. I think it's like this. You take calculated risk, and most of the time we're very calculated and we're following the correct way, and sometimes we're just getting lucky, honestly.
Then he said something that sticks with you. Something bad is going to happen if you keep putting yourself in harm's way that many times. That's not hype for a thumbnail. That's a professional surfer admitting, out loud, that the odds catch up eventually. And yet, in 2026, on a trip to Mexico, Jamie put himself right back in the crosshairs. He and his longtime surf partner Poopies went hunting for a swell using jet ski assistance, the technique that gets you into bigger waves faster, but strips away your ability to be picky about which ones you take. Less paddling, more speed, earlier drops. But the earlier you're on a wave, the less you know about what's waiting on the back half of it. Jamie is experienced enough to manage that risk most of the time. This time, the swell showed its teeth anyway. He walked away and called it the most dangerous session of his life. Take that with a small grain of salt, because YouTube rewards a bit of hyperbole. But even discounted, it's a hell of a headline coming from a guy who has survived literal decades at the most punishing wave in the sport. And here's the part that makes it heavier. Jamie isn't the reckless 23-year-old anymore. He has a family now, the kind of stakes that make most surfers hang up the leash and take the safer waves. But Jamie hasn't slowed down. He's still chasing giant surf in Mexico, still stepping off jet skis into walls of water most people would never approach. The chase never fully leaves you, even when the risk gets more expensive. If you want proof that Jamie's relationship with danger hasn't changed, look at what happened at the Wedge in Newport Beach earlier this year. In June, a historic south swell turned the notoriously violent shore break into a war zone, one of the biggest swells to hit that stretch of California coast in a decade. Surfers, bodyboarders, and lifeguards packed the sand as the Wedge went fully XXL. Jamie was right in the middle of it, and he came out with what he called the biggest barrel he has ever gotten at that wave. Not the biggest at Pipeline, not the biggest in Hawaii, the biggest at a beach break 3,000 miles from his home lineup. That's the thing about Jamie O'Brien. He doesn't need a famous reef to find the gnarliest wave in the world. He'll find it in a shore break packed with tourists if that's what's on offer that day. Then there's the Eddie. If you don't know surfing, you need to understand what this means. The Eddie Aikau Big Wave Invitational only runs when Waimea Bay produces faces of 40 feet or bigger. It has happened 11 times in 40 years. 11 times! It is, in Jamie's own words, the Super Bowl of surfing. Named after Eddie Aikau, the legendary Hawaiian lifeguard and waterman who saved hundreds of lives before disappearing at sea trying to save his own crew during a voyage gone wrong. When the wave shows up, it isn't a contest. It's a pilgrimage. And this year it showed up big. Jamie competed at Waimea when the swell hit numbers he called 60 feet. 60 feet! That's not a wave, that's a moving building of water. He filmed the entire thing for his channel, walking viewers through what it actually feels like to paddle out into a lineup where a single wrong wave can be the last decision you ever make. But here's what most people watching Jamie's videos completely miss. The surf footage is the hook. The business behind it is the real story. Jamie O'Brien isn't just one of the best pipeline surfers who ever lived. He is, by his own reputation in the surf industry, the unofficial king of the surfing side hustle. He runs the Jamie O'Brien Surf Experience, a full surf school based at Turtle Bay Resort on the North Shore, teaching total beginners how to stand up on the same stretch of coastline that nearly broke his own body a dozen times over. He expanded it to a second location at the Twin Fin Hotel in Waikiki. He's got merchandise. He's got a media brand with millions of YouTube followers watching his day-to-day life at Pipeline. And now, he's teasing something new. A line of soft-top surfboards built specifically for beginners at his surf schools, designed to bring people who have never touched a board into the sport safely. A guy who has broken both legs on a wave is now in the business of keeping first-timers from getting hurt on much gentler ones. There's something almost poetic about that. Go back further, and you start to understand why Jamie became the surfer who could build all of this. Being one of the youngest surfers ever to win a Pipeline Masters didn't just earn him a trophy. It earned him standing in a lineup where standing has to be paid for in blood, patience, and years. That standing is exactly why, decades later, tourists trust him to teach their kids how to surf, and why fellow professionals still sit down across from him to swap stories about a wave that has humbled almost everyone who's ever paddled into it. So where does that leave him now, in 2026? Still surfing Pipeline at a level most surfers half his age can't touch. Still traveling to Mexico to chase waves he calls the most dangerous of his life. Still pulling the biggest barrel of his career at a beach break in California. Still walking into 60-foot Waimea Bay for the Eddie like it's just another Tuesday. And somehow, in the middle of all of that, still building a business empire that teaches complete beginners how to fall in love with the ocean the same way he did as a 6-year-old kid on the sand. Let's rewind for a second, because the Mexico story only hits as hard as it does once you understand who Jamie's usually surfing next to down there. His name is Poopies, the loyal, chaotic sidekick who's been part of nearly every major Jamie O'Brien video for the better part of a decade. Poopies is the guy who doesn't just watch Jamie take risks. He takes them right alongside him, water skis and all, sending himself into waves most sane humans would paddle away from. Watching the two of them work a lineup together isn't just entertainment, it's a study in trust. Two grown men who have seen each other get worked, get hurt, and get back up, still choosing to paddle out side by side, trip after trip, year after year. That partnership is part of what makes Jamie's channel different from almost every other surf creator online. It isn't polished, it isn't scripted. When the swell shows its teeth in Mexico, the cameras keep rolling, and you see the fear on real faces in real time. That authenticity is exactly why Jamie built an audience most traditional professional surfers never touch. A following that shows up not because he's world champion, because he never was, but because he lets you into the moments that actually feel dangerous. Rewind further, back to 2009 and 2010, and you'll find two more wins that most casual fans have completely forgotten. First place at the Rip Curl Invitational in 2009. First place at the inaugural Volcom Pipe Pro in 2010. Two more trophies at the one wave that mattered to him more than any World Tour event ever could. While other surfers chased ranking points across the globe, Jamie kept circling back to the same 300 yards of reef in front of his childhood home. He wasn't building a career, he was building a relationship with one specific, violent piece of ocean, and refining it year after year until nobody on Earth understood that wave better than he did. That relationship is exactly why his surf school works. Think about it for a second. Most surf instructors teaching beginners at a resort have never come close to understanding real danger in the water. Jamie has broken bones there. Jamie has been knocked out cold there. Jamie has paddled into a drowning man's rescue there. When he teaches a first-timer how to read a wave at Turtle Bay, he isn't reciting a manual. He's translating decades of pain into something safe enough for a tourist on vacation to enjoy in an afternoon. That's an almost unheard of transfer of knowledge in action sports. Danger converted directly into safety, taught by the same hands that absorbed the danger firsthand. And that transformation into a business mind didn't happen by accident either. Look at the timeline. surf school at Turtle Bay, a second surf school across the Pacific at the Twin Fin Hotel in Waikiki, a full merchandise line under his surf brands, millions of followers across his main channel and social platforms, and now, a brand new line of soft-top surfboards built specifically for the beginners walking through his surf school doors, engineered to be safe enough for someone who has never stood on a board in their life. Every single piece of that empire traces back to one thing. Pipeline made Jamie famous, but it was Jamie's mind for business that turned that fame into something that could outlast his knees. Because here's the uncomfortable truth about big wave surfing that nobody likes to say out loud. Your body has an expiration date. Jamie has talked candidly about knee surgery, about sessions where he genuinely couldn't surf afterward, about the slow accumulation of damage that comes from 3 decades at one of the heaviest waves alive. Most athletes in that position either retire quietly or fade into nostalgia content, rewatching their glory years for an audience that eventually stops watching too. Jamie did neither. He kept surfing at a dangerous level while simultaneously building something that would still exist even after his body couldn't take another pipeline winter. That's not luck. That's foresight most 21-year-old contest winners never develop, because most 21-year-old contest winners never think they'll need it. Now bring it back to family, because this is the piece that changes everything about how you should read Jamie's more recent risk-taking. In that same conversation with Bert Kreischer, Jamie made a point of saying that having a family changes how you chase swells. He isn't jumping on every single plane and tracking every single swell the way he might have at 25. And yet he still went to Mexico. He still stepped off a jet ski into genuinely life-threatening surf. He still paddled into 60-foot Waimea Bay for the Eddie. The math doesn't quite add up on paper. A family man who says he's more careful now, still doing some of the most dangerous surfing of his entire career in the same calendar year. But that contradiction is exactly what makes Jamie O'Brien who he is. He isn't chasing danger recklessly anymore. He's chasing it deliberately, on his own terms, fully aware of the stakes, because some part of him will never be finished with the ocean that raised him. There's another side to Jamie that rarely makes the highlight reels, and it might be the most important one. He's become the unofficial historian of his own wave. On his channel, Jamie has sat down with the other North Shore legends who grew up alongside him, guys like Mason Ho and lifeguard legend Liam McNamara, trading stories about Pipeline that go back generations. These aren't polished interviews. They're long, rambling, honest conversations about what it actually took to survive and thrive at that wave. The fights on the beach, the near misses in the water, the unwritten rules of a lineup that outsiders never fully understand. Jamie has talked openly about physical confrontations from his younger years too, back when localism at Pipeline ran hotter than it does today. One story involves a dispute with a body surfer who was dropping in on riders, Jamie included, that nearly turned into a full brawl on the sand. It's the kind of North Shore folklore that never makes it into a highlight reel, but explains exactly how territorial that wave used to be, and honestly, still can be. Jamie survived that culture too, not just the wave itself, but the world built around it. That instinct for protecting the people around him didn't stay confined to old stories either. Back in 2016, Jamie didn't just film content at Pipeline. He helped save someone's life there. A bodyboarder wiped out and started drowning in the impact zone, and Jamie paddled out on a foam board to help bring him to shore. That's not a headline stunt. That's someone who has spent so much time in that specific stretch of ocean that saving a life in it becomes almost instinct.